Jai Jagannath, Jai Shri Radha. We are continuing the series on the perception of religion along the history that we know of, which is important to understand the concept of religion today and what we need to correct, what we need to address in the general public misconceptions, because religion is an extremely important topic. All human beings have a natural need for religion. Of course, religion is expressed at different levels according to the level of personal evolution of individuals and groups. But it is almost impossible to find any human beings who don't have a tendency to religion. Even the atheist people, those who are very angry and critical, hateful towards any form of religion, are actually following their own religion. What is the meaning of religion? The original meaning of religion is something that connects. Connects both the individual to the collective community and the individual to a higher level of community. But it is always a connection. Now, when we speak about yoga as a religion, we do because yoga is the connection, is a science of connection of the individual with the Supreme. Now, of course, it depends on, in general, the natural tendency. It depends on what the individual considers supreme. So some people consider supreme the particular community that has been officially recognized as religion, as Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and whatever. But there are also many religions that are not recognized officially as religions, but they still regulate and give meaning, give a purpose to the individual in a relationship with everything else. Unfortunately, many people do not understand this, but atheism is also a religion because it still makes a connection between the individual and God, although it is a negative connection, but still the human being is thinking about God. Even if unfavorably, but he's still thinking about God. Now, the type of atheists who do not think of God at all, they think about humanity, about the political party, communists and Naxalites and stuff. They think of family or society as a supreme thing with which they need to connect. Maybe they could worship medicine. They worship contemporary medicine, allopathic medicine. Other people are worshipping academia and science, whatever they think science is. So they have their own holy books, they have their own gurus, they have their own temples and devotees and commandments and dogmas and rules, and so that's not different from the general concept of religion. However, most people today, they perceive the general concept of religion as modeled after the parameters of Abrahamic religions. So they think that if we use the word religion to apply to Hinduism, this means that Hinduism must have the same approach, the same values, the same ideas of Abrahamic religions, which is not very healthy. But the problem is there is no proper connection, no proper communication between the various fields of knowledge. So, for example, in legislation and international rights, religion means what people believe, in general. But they have a list of religions that have been recognized as religions. So when they speak about freedom of religion, they are willing to include Hinduism because Hinduism is a recognized religion. It's recognized as religion. If we forfeit, we waver the definition, we renounce the definition of religion for Hinduism, we are actually shooting our own foot, because according to the international legislation, Hindus have the freedom of religion to Hinduism. But if we say Hinduism is not a religion, it's a way of life, there is no legal provision to protect the rights to a way of life. So automatically Hindus are denying themselves the freedom of religion right, which is not a very clever thing to do. But, the good thing is that there are lots of people who consider themselves Hindus, so they function, they're supposed to function in a democracy. So, okay. We have to consider the conditions that we live in. Then we make a comparison with the actual Vedic system that is presented in the Shastra, and we try to understand. We need to understand what people are talking about when they speak of religion, and what people are hearing when we speak of religion. So, in the Vedic system, religion is a personal matter of belief and behaviors that are usually defined as dhyana or meditation, and achara means way of life, behaviors, things that people do, and so on. Both these principles belong to the Tantra Yoga Bhakti tradition, and also belong to the Varnashrama system, although on two different levels. Now, the Vedic religion, the Vedic concept of religion, both the Karma Kanda and the Tantra Yoga don't consider the idea, don't even consider the idea of imposing beliefs or behaviors or rituals. They speak of duties, they speak of, correct behavior, but that is not part of the specific religion. We have seen that in the Vedic system we have two manifestations of dharma. One is the Sanatana Dharma, which is the general dharma for everyone, always, eternally, universally. And then there is the Swadharma. Swadharma depends on the application of the general dharma principles, but according to your particular situation. Unfortunately, many people have been translating the word dharma as religion, but that is not correct. It's not really helping. In fact, it can confuse and mislead people considerably. Now, in ancient times, before 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, religion was something that was very similar to the Vedic idea of religion. So it was a personal contact with God, the personal relationship with God, and the relationship of the individual with the community. But of course, there was, for example, in Sumer and Egypt, Greece, there were gods that people generally knew, but they were not real God. They were superhuman entities, what we call usually devas, or even nagas, yakshas, or whatever. It means that people were worshipping them, but knowing that there is one eternal universal existence that is beyond the individual forms of the gods. And this is something that the colonial Indology could not understand. So they have invented terms like monotheism, polytheism, henotheism, pantheism, they invented a lot of strange ideas, but they don't get the point. The point is that God, is the supreme existence, the supreme being, which includes everything. This knowledge of God as unlimited, eternal, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, transcendental, comes from the Vedic knowledge and was injected in the Abrahamic ideologies only quite recently, about 2,000 years ago, when the Jews were they had a very big cultural center. They participated to the very big cultural center of Alexandria of Egypt. So the Bible, the Old Testament, was written in Greek. That is the famous Septuaginta version, you know. And this is the oldest Bible we know about, Old Testament. There was no such a thing as Bible before that. There were fragments here and there. Then after the Septuagint Bible that was written in Greek in Alexandria of Egypt, there came up the Masoretic version of the Bible, which is in Hebrew. So that was a translation of the Greek text. And it doesn't include any idea, because the Hebrew language doesn't have any word to indicate transcendence, eternity, omnipresence. So they just got these ideas, and put them in, especially in Christianity. Now, what happened to the ancient religions in the old world, especially in Europe and Middle East, when Christianity took over? Very simple, they were destroyed physically. It's not that people converted to Christianity because they thought Christianity was a better religion. They had to convert to Christianity or be killed. Starting from the year 381, if I'm not mistaken, with the Edict of Thessaloniki, in which the Roman Emperor decreed, stated that Christianity, as per the government that controlled Christianity, was the only allowed religion. All other religions, all those who were not Christians and following the state religion of Christianity, were pagans and were crazy and should be killed. And that they did. They started, the concentration camps were started at that time. The first concentration camps for pagans. So basically everything went lost, practically speaking. Only very few books, and they were hidden, and very few people remained that pretended to be Christians, and they kept their ideas and knowledge in secret. But it was very difficult to keep it going. So basically Christianity became the global religion, the model on which the idea of religion was imposed, because even beyond Europe, European colonialism took this idea of religion to the Americas, to Australia, to the rest of the world. There was some resistance in India, for example, and China and Japan, but otherwise everybody else kind of accepted the idea. Even in Africa, lots of people became Christians. Both the Africans that were taken to the America, for example, as slaves, they also became Christians. Now today they're the black descendants of these African slaves are, extremely Christian, fundamentalists, because they don't understand that the propaganda of Christianity is false. like I was, yeah, I don't think you know about it. There is an ancient song, popular song in the among the black communities in the United States that is glorifying one guy called John Brown.
No, I
Uh,
haven't heard.
yeah, I suppose. It goes like John Brown lies some old day in his grave, you know, glory, glory, hallelujah, goes on like that. And this song is saying that John Brown was a great Christian because he fought for the black slaves and told the black slaves that they should get their freedom. There is not one single verse in all the Bible that says that slaves should be freed. In fact, Paul, Saul of Tarsus, Paul, that is a very famous guy who practically invented Christianity. Most of the New Testament is made up with his letters to these, various people, and his writings about himself and blah blah. And Paul even wrote very clearly that the slaves should worship their owners as if they were Christ himself. And if a slave runs away from their owner, a good Christian should take it back to the owner. Because, slavery is perfectly okay. But these black evangelists, black Christians, they have been fed this stupid thing that Jesus Christ, is a liberator of all the slaves, and it's totally fake, totally false. But they bought it, they accepted it, so they are very, they love Jesus. Oh, okay, they love Jesus. Good for them. But they do so on a basis that is not a fact. It's not real. Neither historically, not even in their scriptures. So then Christianity spread around, and more recently we have a big expansion of Islam. There was a big expansion of Islam in the very beginning with Muhammad and his companions. That there was a very big conquest war under them. So they actually destroyed the whatever previous culture was there, starting from the Middle East. So again, the Middle East, practically speaking, the percentage of Muslim population is overwhelming. There is no place for any other religion. Then it went on for some time. Then starting from the year 700, 800, there was some reaction in Europe. Like Roland, la chanson de Roland is a very famous part, and he became famous because he stopped the Muslims entering France. Then Charlemagne, Charles the Great, in 800 also, he fought against the Muslims who were trying to invade Europe. Then again in the 1300, there was the famous Cid Campeador. I don't remember his actual name. El Cid Campeador means the Lord Fighter, which when the Muslims had already conquered all Spain, he actually pushed them back. He defeated them and pushed them back. Then the same thing, the Muslims tried to attack Italy, they were doing a lot of raids in the Mediterranean and on the Atlantic coast. They're taking lots of slaves and pillaging and everything, so much that very much like in Rajasthan, when the women saw the Muslim pirates arriving, they were killing themselves to to avoid complications. If they didn't kill themselves, they were taken as slaves. So much that in Europe, South Europe especially, where the Muslim pirates were easily reaching, practically almost all the blonde people disappeared or taken away because the Muslims like blondes. Muslims prefer blondes. Okay, so then there was some fighting back until the fall of Constantinople, which was the fall of the Eastern Roman Empire, and but they were stopped at Vienna because they were trying to get into Germany as well, North Europe, and they were stopped at Vienna. And on which day? 9/11.
No.
9/11.
Oh,
11 September.
11 September.
And this
okay.
is why this is the date that they tried to show they wanted to get revenge on the West on 9/11 when the Twin Towers were blown up.
Mm-hmm.
So 9/11 is an important date for Muslims because their idea of religion is to conquer and convert or enslave, because that's what Allah says. That's what the Prophet says. Okay, that's their idea of religion. Because it's an old thing and it has imposed itself for several centuries. The international legislation is recognizing Islam as a genuine religion. They don't care about what Islam says, also because Muslim apologists are very clever. So they have this thing called taqiyya, by which it's actually very good if they can lie and deceive people to present Islam in the best possible light, until they get to power. And when they get to power, it's a different story, because, like, for example, I don't know if you heard, but recently there was, let me see, in Afghanistan, the government of Afghanistan, which we know is a fundamentalist Islamic government, has officially put a fatwa, a ban on Windows. Not Windows computers, but Windows in the house. Means all buildings where women could be allowed cannot have windows. So already they have the burqa, then also, the windows as well. So, the vitamin D, you can forget about it. So, without windows. So already women cannot talk with each other, they cannot sing or recite poetries, they cannot drive, they cannot go to a restaurant, they cannot go to school, they cannot be connected with the NGOs, they have to be covered with a burqa all the time. They cannot look someone in the eyes. So, right. And this is from people who start saying that Islam is for equality, the rights of women, and blah, 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 blah. So you see the difference. You can see how they actually put it in practice once they have the power. But the same is for Christians. The Christians are not much better. And the same is for Jews. Jews are not much better. They are only better when they don't have any material power. So, they cannot apply their laws, their religious laws, so they have to respect the law of the land. And usually the law of the land in the liberal world is based on protecting the freedom of people. Protecting people, protecting freedom of people. It's not about imposing a religion. Now, in this past 50 years, about 50 years, 100 years, the power of Abrahamic religions has gone down a lot. People don't take, the general people don't take them very seriously. Of course, there is a radicalization of some of these people, but they are a minority. They're very powerful and dedicated and angry and vocal and wealthy minority, but they still are a minority. And hopefully, if the general majority of people become a little more conscious of the situation, they may, wake up and do something better. One of the things that can help us all is the study of the actual, genuine, original Vedic culture, which is not necessarily Hinduism and is not necessarily politicized Hinduism, because they don't really know what Hindu means. So basically, we need to actually dig and find out what is the original concept of God and religion, and how we can apply it for the benefit of all. Now, in the past, in the history, in the past 2,000 years, there has been a lot of very interesting history. 2,000, 3,000 years. The past 3,000 years, the history of the last 3,000 years is extremely interesting. Before 3,000 years ago, historians do not really know what happened. They are picking cherries. They're taking information from here and there, and they just keep what they like and discard what they don't like. And of course, this is not a very scientific way of doing things. But okay, they are scientists by definition. So whatever they say, even if it's not scientific at all, is the only scientific thing for the general people. Everything else is pseudoscience. Okay, we got the point. But that doesn't make it true. But regarding what happened starting from about 3,000 years ago, we have a lot of evidence of what happened. Not only about the things that were written, but also about objects, artifacts, buildings, and all this stuff. So in the last 3,000 years only, Abrahamic religions developed. And that changed the entire idea of religion and God. So we can go back to a more, solid, healthier way of seeing things if we actually focus on studying, and going to verify what we study, not taking it from one single source. We have to go to different sources. And we have to go to the sources on which everybody agrees. And different sources as well when there is some controversial point. So some people agree, some people don't agree. But it is up to us to understand the actual reality, not just accepting one theory rather than another one. It's not a choice. We choose to follow this because we like it more. We need to verify how real the knowledge is. And the good thing is that Vedic knowledge also gives us the opportunity to verify ourselves, experience ourselves directly. This is why the gurus, the acharyas, the realized souls, the people of knowledge are called darshina, people who see the truth, see reality directly. It's not that they learn it, in school or from the teacher or whatever. They got some knowledge, some basic knowledge, and then they experiment and they see it for themselves. There is a different, power in learning and in understanding, realizing. Just learning theoretically is not going to help much. We need to experiment, and means understanding and realizing, putting it in practice, and making it a part of our very life, our life. So we have seen religion in the past, very ancient past, religion in the classic historical period, and religion in the present, and religion in the future. Now, lots of people I have seen, especially on YouTube, I'm going around and getting a pulse of the situation. Lots of people are starting to think now, 2025 is the end of Kali Yuga. Nope. 2025 is the last opportunity for us to take sides in the Kurukshetra. Because the battle will start. Already started, but not that bad. But the real situation that we will not be able to do anything else but survive is going to be from 25 to 2030. 2025 to 2030. And it's not going to be Satya Yuga starting. But we should try to stick to our effort, sincere effort to understand, learn, understand, realize, and apply knowledge at the best of our abilities. And that includes religion. Now, how do we apply religion? There are some basic points that all religions agree on in one way or another. So, one thing is at least we need to be honest and sincere. Of course, that Abrahamic religions have been, stretching a little bit too much for political purposes, but in our personal relationship with God, we must be sincere with God. And we must be compassionate. We must love, God's creatures. Because they're God's creatures, they're God's creation, so we must love it. We must take care of God's children in a loving manner, respectful and loving manner. Then the other point is we need to purify ourselves, to keep clean, to keep pure. Yeah. And then we need to follow a discipline, to make choices, that are consistent with our beliefs. We have to put an effort. We have to dedicate our energy, to dedicate our life to, progress in divine realization. So these are the 4 principles of Dharma. Satyam, Dayam, Socham, Tapas. Even if the religion that people follow, for example, Abrahamic religions, don't have these principles as part of their history or their scriptures, they know that if they do not claim to follow those principles, nobody is going to listen to them. Nobody can consider them a true religion. So we need to work on these basic principles of Dharma and help people work together, help people uphold these basic principles. So, even if someone wants to believe, worship Mickey Mouse, worship some Bollywood people, actor, it's not a problem. The problem is they have to follow the basic principles of Dharma. We cannot accept that it is legitimate for them to cause, to attack and cause suffering to innocent people, because that's what the religion says, because that is against the Dayam, compassion. So we need to understand the actual principles, and when we practice them in our personal life, in our direct life, in our community, then we become strong enough to defeat adharma. Even when it comes from other communities, other groups, other people, or other individuals. If we don't uphold Dharma, we will not be able to defeat adharma. Like they say, dharm ho, jai ho, dharm ki jai ho, adharma ki nash ho. We need to do that, starting from ourselves. Then we'll be strong enough to help others overcome the same problem. But if we don't apply it ourselves, it's going to be a problem, because we are not we will not be strong enough. Unfortunately, there is not much good work going on in this in this field, even as far as the distribution of knowledge is concerned. People are not interested in supporting the distribution of knowledge. So there is a lot of speculation and opinions going around, and people are picking and choosing whatever opinion they like best. They don't care to go back to the Shastra, but Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, those who, the religion, the faith that is not following the Shastra is under tamas, is asuric. So it's not going to be able to help us. So all these people having ideas about, especially these ancient astronauts, that Shiva was an alien coming down to Earth with a spaceship. It's like, okay. People need to meditate, to contemplate something greater than themselves. And what the system is doing, what the asuras are doing, they're driving the sheep to worship aliens. Whether they are good aliens or bad aliens, it doesn't matter. Because you cannot criticize God, right? So when God is drowning all the human beings on the planet because he's not happy how human beings came out, that's okay, that's good, because that's God doing it. That is what they, Abrahamics groomed us to think and believe. But that's that's not a fact. That's not real. They are trying to push the general human population to worship asuras. They're preparing. They're expanding the idea, and they will control the system more strictly, because this is the new Abrahamic religion that is coming up. So, this is the journey of the concept of religion. In other places, like the indigenous tribes, religion has remained very simple and very true. Usually indigenous tribal people, they show respect to nature. They know that everything is connected. Like, for example, the Native Americans in North America, they usually say, they have a very characteristic sentence. They say, "Mituke oyaisin," means we salute all our relatives, all the members of our family. And for them, everything is member of their family. The stones, the trees, the mountains, the people, all sorts of people, the animals. So Mituke oyaisin is specifically meaning that we know we are connected to everything. Everything is connected. And that everything is God. So It's so much more, true than Abrahamic ideas. So the Native American religion was true religion, but it has never been recognized legally because the Native Americans were all either killed or converted. China and Japan, they opposed themselves more to the Abrahamic invasion, but they're not presently. They're not in a very good place. Japan and China had Taoism. You heard about Taoism? Not really.
Like I've heard, but I don't know what they practice.
Yeah, Tao is like Brahman. It's the Param Brahman.
Okay.
So in the Tao, there's a yin and a yang. There is a masculine part and a feminine part. But the Tao is omnipresent. It's all that exists. It's the supreme reality. So you see, that's much nearer to the Vedic system. Of course, Taoism got wiped out by the communism, and there was a lot of opposition from Buddhism, for example. Buddhism is much more basic, easier to understand for the general population. So Buddhism had a lot of success in China and Japan and Indonesia, the whole Asia, until it was wiped out by the communists, and before that even by the Muslims. So there's a lot to study about that. Only just by observing history we can get a lot of understanding. Okay, if we don't have questions this time.
Yeah, I have one question.
Oh, fantastic! Tell.
Like, yeah, we were discussing about the black slaves in America and how they got converted and now are fundamentalist, like very fanatic.
Yeah.
Similarly, we see in South Asia also, like, in regions like Pakistan and India too, the
Yeah.
Islamic converts,
Yeah.
they are so fanatic. If they
Yeah.
go, like, they might know that historically they've been Hindus, or like, in
Yes.
case of
Yeah.
Africans, they have some different religion.
Yeah.
Why they are so fanatic? Like, what causes that fanatism?
The cause is that they have been offered a slightly better situation than the other ones who did not accept the tyranny. When you want to keep slaves quiet and cooperative, you give them a slightly better position than the other ones. Better food, better treatment, some power, a little power over the others. And definitely Muslims did that in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh and in the entire subcontinent. And in the same way, some of the leaders of the abolitionists, people who wanted to abolish slavery, they chose some black people to lead the other black. Now the same thing was done by the British when they came to India. The brown sahibs.
Come again?
Brown sahibs. Brown sahib.
No, I don't know.
You didn't hear about that. Yeah, I mean, when the British came to India, they wanted to create an elite, class of Indian society, of people of Indian race who were more British in culture
Okay.
and behaviors and tastes and everything, like Jawaharlal Nehru, for example. So when people think they can consider themselves better than the other people from their same group, they become very dedicated because they want to prove themselves. They want to prove they are better than the other blacks. They want to prove that they're better than the other Indians. They want to prove that they're better, from the other, I don't know, whatever. Same. It's the same. It's a psychological trick.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, in Kali Yuga, people don't have a lot of brain and intelligence to understand the deeper philosophy. So they're happy. They tell the leaders tell them, "Oh, you're better than the others." Then they get a little bit of candy, little sweets, and then they become very, very dedicated. Dedicated doesn't mean good people. Dedicated means, fundamentalists. If the fundamentals are good, they become better people. If the fundamentals are bad, they become worse people. That much. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
But we still have some opportunity. We can still do something. We'll try. We keep trying. See how it works. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. The rest of the next
Thank you.
time. Jai, Jai Jagannath, Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Jagannath.